nation back on track with the fastest, safest, and greenest railways in the world.
President Biden back on the West Coast tonight pushing a multi-billion-dollar transit plan. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savidge. The president is making 2 stops during this trip. He arrived in Los Angeles late this afternoon to attend campaign fundraisers, and that followed his first stop in Las Vegas. The president visited Vegas to talk about plans to link Southern California with Southern Nevada with high-speed rail service. A $3 billion government grant has been awarded to get construction started early next year.
Rail connections, it connects jobs and opportunities for people. It gets goods to market, traffic off the street, travelers on the move. Railroads made America a force in commerce and innovation in the world, uniting the country, building the most powerful economy ever in the history of the world. And over time, though, we fell behind. Our infrastructure used to be the best in the world. When I took office, we were ranked 13 in the world in our infrastructure, roads, bridges, etc. Now we're turning it around in a big way.
Tonight, KTVU's Tom Vakar breaks down what this investment could mean for the future of travel in the West.
The California legislature passed high-speed rail initial funding of $9 billion back in 2001, but it was conceived much earlier by then first-time Governor Jerry Brown in the 1980s.
The big deal here is we all know that we got to get off fossil fuels, reduce them dramatically. I think it's highly possible that America can get its mojo back to build big stuff.
The highly criticized project's first trains on 171 miles connecting Merced to Fresno and Bakersfield will be in operation before 2032. Though the total price for the San Francisco to LA route is now estimated at $128 billion, with almost $12 billion already spent, it's game on.
We made this a priority that was not going away. I made that really clear to multiple administrations.
This investment allows us to move forward with purchasing electrified high-speed trains built in America.
Representative Pelosi says the non-pollution, renewable energy-powered project is about health of the planet, its people, decongestion, and jobs.
We don't want to continue to build highways to pollute the air. We want to build high-speed rail to improve the quality of life.
It could also spread out the urban population to less expensive locations.
People that are living in Fresno could be working in Silicon Valley or downtown San Francisco.
The median price home in Fresno is $400,000, even lower in other places where high-speed rail will travel.
12,000 good union-paying jobs that have created as a result of this initial investment.
Yeah, they know there's problems with this. We're going to spend billions more. That's what it takes. You want to be number one in the world? You got to spend big bucks. You compete with other nations by building up America. That's exactly what's happening.
The officials cite all the money put into California's ports for decades have made California the gateway to the bulk of Asian Pacific trade. Tom Vakar, KTVU Fox 2 News.
And during his time in Las Vegas today, President Biden called attention to 2 tragedies that have hit that city in a little more than 1 week. That includes Wednesday's shooting on UNLV's campus that killed 3 faculty members. The Clark County coroner released the name of the 3rd person who died in that shooting today. Naoko Takamaru was an associate professor of Japanese studies at UNLV. The other 2 victims who died were identified yesterday. Cha Jang Chang was a business professor at the school. Patricia Navarro Velez was an assistant professor of accounting. A 4th person who was wounded in that shooting remains hospitalized tonight. Las Vegas police today reached out to the public looking for help in this case and requesting any video that people have of the shooting. President Biden said today that this case shows why Congress needs to reform the nation's gun laws.
We need to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. Pass national red flag laws, as you've done here. Require safe storage, enact universal background checks, and other common-sense measures to save lives. Because, you know, the Second Amendment didn't say you can own any gun. You can own any weapon. You couldn't own a cannon when the Second Amendment was passed.
Authorities say the gunman in this case, Anthony Polito, was shot to death by responding campus police officers. Investigators say he had a list of targets at the school. Before the UNLV shooting, the Las Vegas community was already facing another tragedy, a hit-and-run crash that killed 2 Nevada State troopers last week. Today, mourners gathered to honor one of those victims. A large crowd was on hand for the funeral of Trooper Alberto Felix. He and Sergeant Michael Abate were hit and killed by a driver on Interstate 15 as they tried to help someone who was having car trouble. A funeral for Sergeant Abate is set to take place on Monday. The man accused of causing this deadly crash has been arrested. Investigators say Jamarcus Williams admitted that he had been drinking before the crash. In California, a San Diego police officer was badly wounded after authorities say a man opened fire outside of a shopping center. This all began last night when officers were called to a report of a stolen vehicle. The suspect was inside a grocery store when officers tried to talk to him. Police say he ran out of that store and fired at least 1 round at the officers, hitting one of them in the head. Police then returned fire, killing the suspect. The officer who was hit remains in the ICU tonight. In the San Francisco Bay Area, police this morning were telling neighbors to stay indoors because of an armed man who may have shot his wife as she was trying to get inside of their home in Pleasant Hill. The suspect here is a retired police officer. The shooting led to a long standoff with officers overnight, but police early this morning decided to leave the area altogether because they say they didn't believe the suspect was an immediate threat to the general public.
He's not out to get us. He's out to get his wife, I guess. You know, so he's not in danger for the people here in his neighborhood.
For several hours, police tried to make contact with the man by phone and using a loudspeaker, but he did not respond. He also did not reply to police on social media after he posted some comments and recordings. Police suggest the man may be suicidal. Authorities in Washington say they've arrested the person likely responsible for a series of shootings that happened along highways south of Seattle. The suspect here appears to have targeted cars at random. At least one person was hospitalized. Fox 13's Nikki Torres has more tonight on how authorities made an arrest.
Washington State Patrol, along with drivers, can breathe a slight sigh of relief knowing a man is in jail right now for shooting at cars on local major highways.
In my view, the suspect's actions the night of December 6th met the very definition of an active shooter.
Last night at about 10:30, WSP arrested 28-year-old Marco Antonio Ramos Valdez from Auburn. Investigators believe he is responsible for shooting at cars on highways Wednesday night.
Rather than shooting in a confined space that we're accustomed to, he used our freeway system to commit carnage, cause injury, and create fear among the people using our transportation system.
WSP says a total of 6 cars got shot Wednesday. Investigation will uncover whether or not Valdez is responsible for all 6. Right now, it's victim testimonies holding him accountable for 2. WSP says they believe Valdez's actions were random and not targeted.
Usually, there's some sort of aggression or improper lane change or something that somebody takes personal.
Here's the timeline of shootings from Wednesday night. At around 9 p.m., 2 different cars moving southbound on I-5 reported someone fired a shot at them. One near SR 518 and one near South Center. At 9:20 p.m., a driver was heading southbound on I-5 near South 320th and Federal Way. The suspect fired 1 shot and hit the driver in the neck. That person is in satisfactory condition now, according to Harborview Medical Center. At 9:40, another victim traveling northbound on I-5 near 200th Street was shot at. At 10:30, it happened a 5th time on SR 167 near the Ellingson exit. And finally, before midnight, someone in a gray mid-2000s pickup truck fired at a car.
I don't want to leave here by pretending that we're going to rationalize this irrational behavior. Why somebody would choose to take a firearm and just randomly shoot people on the freeway is mind-boggling, troubling, and hopefully it remains isolated.
WSP says the outcome of these shootings could have been much worse.
We're very fortunate here. We could have had far greater carnage as a result of these. I mean, we know.
And that was Fox 13's Nikki Torres reporting for us tonight. There have been at least 48 freeway shootings in King County, Washington this year. Today, the governor of Arizona launched a new effort to address security at the U.S.-Mexico border. Katie Hobbs announced the creation of a new border security office meant to mobilize state resources to help ensure what she calls a secure, humane, and orderly border. A recent surge in migrants at the southern border led to the closure of the Lukeville crossing earlier this week. In a statement put out today, Governor Hobbs also said she's asked President Biden to allow nearly 250 National Guard members in southern Arizona to be used to open or reopen the Lukeville port of entry. The governor has also asked the federal government to reimburse the state of Arizona more than $500 million for border operations. A new ruling prohibits the separation of families at the border for the purpose of deterring immigration for 8 years. A federal judge made that ruling today, blocking a potential revival of the Trump-era policy soon. Children may still be separated, but only under limited circumstances. One of those circumstances is if a parent has been convicted of serious crimes. Exotic dancers on strike in Southern California. Coming up tonight on West Coast Rap, why they say conditions at work must change.
And in weather, here is our live camera tonight looking out toward LAX in Southern California. They have mostly clear skies, a current temperature of 59 degrees. Winds tomorrow could increase the fire danger in Southern California, and we'll have the update coming up.
And just imagine your holiday packages in the middle of this scene. Coming up tonight, why delayed shipments are piling up at one Washington post office.
What do we want? A contract. When do we want it? Now. Do we want it next week?
The country's only unionized group of exotic dancers refuses to work this weekend. North Hollywood's Star Garden dancers are on strike. They say they're walking picket lines to call attention to how their boss is running the Star Garden topless dive bar. They claim the owner is in violation of federal labor laws.
They have started implementing all of these rules that have been making our workplace really hard and kind of impossible to do our job. So since it's become intolerable to work, we are on a labor strike right now just for the weekend to prove to the NLRB that they're negotiating in bad faith.
One dancer told Fox 11 in Los Angeles their club's managers are restricting performers' creativity and ability to make tips. We reached out to the club to comment on the labor dispute. We're waiting for a response. The club told Newsweek it is not involved in unfair labor practices. Well, it is holiday chaos at one Washington post office where packages are piling up. All of this started last month when people living on the San Juan Islands say a surge of Amazon deliveries were diverted to their post office. A tent even had to be set up outside to deal with that influx. And the situation has left postal workers feeling overwhelmed. As Fox 13's Lauren Donovan explains, rural communities all across the country are experiencing similar backlogs.
You're getting a glimpse of Christmas-time chaos in the San Juans. Inside the Friday Harbor Post Office, Amazon packages are piling up. Sources tell us these teetering towers aren't the norm. There's not enough room inside this small-town shop to accommodate this many parcels. So, overwhelmed, USPS set up tents out back. Inside, pallets stacked high with brown boxes marked with that signature smile. Dozens of them. These pictures confirming local suspicions that Amazon is
really bogged down our tiny, tiny rural postal service.
Amazon says it's USPS's job to cover the last mile, that link between the post office and your doorstep. But too much traffic, too much demand, and not enough delivery drivers is creating a serious roadblock for local mail carriers. We're told they've got to use their personal vehicles to make the rounds.
So when you've got even a 2-foot size box imagine 4 of those in the back of your car. Well, I mean, how does that get delivered?
And it looks like the San Juans aren't alone. Similar complaints are surfacing from USPS offices across the country. Headlines out of Minnesota show rural postal workers in Bemidji are protesting, quote, mail isn't being delivered on many routes because we're spending 12 hours a day just delivering Amazon packages. Another story from the Washington Post reads, chaos ensued in that same small town. Quote, since early November, Bemidji has been bombarded by a sudden onslaught of Amazon packages. A few weeks ago, we talked to a UPS contractor in the San Juans who noticed the exact same change.
On November 1st, it was like somebody just drew a line in the sand and all of a sudden our packages didn't show up anymore.
He believes their delivery trucks are barren because something happened between Amazon and UPS, saying the load once carried by UPS has shifted to already short-staffed local post offices. Amazon apologizes for any delays experienced in and around the San Juan Islands. They contend USPS locations approve their shipping projections, but they're trying to, as they say, refine volume accordingly. We're trying to get to the bottom of this, but Amazon, USPS, and UPS only offer generalized statements to our specific questions about contracts and volume. It appears congressional leaders are now pressing for information too. Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar sent this letter to the Postmaster General. In it, she asks, what steps is the U.S. Postal Service taking to ensure that rural routes allow for the delivery of mail in a timely fashion, given the spike in package deliveries?
And that was Fox 13's Lauren Donovan reporting for us tonight. On Wednesday, U.S. Senators Amy Klobuchar and Tina Smith introduced legislation they hope will improve the Postal Service's operations. The Minnesota senators want to ensure the Postal Service has the tools it needs to track delivery disruptions. They also want the service to make information about disruptions available to customers. All right, we turn now to the weather in Southern California. Strong winds expected to increase the fire risk over this weekend. Live pictures tonight of conditions at Santa Monica's famous pier. A fire weather watch is in effect for areas spanning from the Santa Monica Mountains all the way out to the Inland Empire. Southern California Edison workers say there is a possibility temporary power shutoffs will happen to reduce the fire risk over the weekend. And big rig drivers say they have already felt those strong gusts out on the roads.
I drive in Orange County. It says if you have a loaded truck, man, the winds, you feel like you're about to flip over. You know, it can get risky. It can get scary, but you just gotta both hands on the steering wheel.
Some parts of Southern California could experience wind gusts up to 65 miles per hour. For more, let's bring in KTVU meteorologist Mark Tamayo, who is tracking those conditions in Southern California. How long are the strong winds going to last, Mark?
Well, Alex, into the weekend, yeah, so Saturday and into Sunday, the red flag fire warning in place. So, yeah, fire danger is still a concern even in the month of December down in Southern California. So, as you can see, all the areas in red here from Ventura to Pasadena, as we move the maps around here, we have the red flag warning in place. Winds potentially up above 50 miles an hour. It's that dry wind direction, the Santa Ana wind, and we could have relative humidity levels drop off quite a bit, around single digits, in fact, 6 to 15%. So still those dry winds a concern as we head into the weekend for Southern California. And you can see on the satellite for California, lots of clear skies up and down the coastline of California. Today up in the Pacific Northwest, somewhat of a break in terms of the rainfall and the snowfall. A little bit of a shower activity, but actually fairly nice, at least compared to what they have been dealing with over the past few days. And in Colorado, that storm in the Pacific Northwest dropping into the Rockies, as you can see here, and some snow showers to report, as you can see on the radar throughout the day. These are some of the snow reports, and with one site closer to Aspen reporting over 6 inches of some snowfall accumulations. Here's a satellite as we back things out. It's hard to ignore this system, this front, this area of low pressure. This will be a rain producer up in the Pacific Northwest this weekend, unfortunately, because they need more of a break, but you can see those rain accumulations adding up right on to the weekend. So we're not talking about a few sprinkles, moderate to heavy rainfall back in the forecast for both Saturday and into Sunday. In Seattle today, though, some clouds, some breaks in the clouds, and temperatures in the upper 40s, at least a break of the rainfall, the real major rainfall today. Still a few showers out there. In San Francisco, Lots of sunshine. Here's looking at the Coit Tower earlier this afternoon. Temperatures in the upper 50s. And out toward Denver, we showed you the cloud cover and also the snow showers moving into Colorado. 41 degrees in Denver. Here's a look at the current numbers. Right now, it is 32 in Denver, Seattle 39, and Los Angeles in the upper 50s. So somewhat of a cooler pattern across the West Coast. Rain returns up in the Pacific Northwest for tomorrow. Lots of sunshine for California, and we're going to clear out those snow clouds in Denver. We're going to have more sunshine for tomorrow. So here is the forecast model. It clearly picks up on the rainfall increasing throughout the day on Saturday up towards Seattle. So we're going to have multiple rain clouds over the next 3 days. In San Francisco, a sun-cloud mix. It is a mild weather pattern in Southern California. We'll definitely have to keep an eye on those winds that will continue to boost fire danger closer to Los Angeles for tomorrow. So it's December, and we still have fire concerns in the south, Alex.
All right, Mark, thank you. A huge celebration today for a West Coast landmark. Ahead tonight, the new milestone for Southern California's Hollywood sign. The FDA has approved 2 gene therapies expected to revolutionize treatment for those living with sickle cell disease. The disease is a debilitating disorder that affects millions of people globally, especially African Americans. The therapies are a gene editing treatment that changes the body's process for making red blood cells. While doctors say these therapies are promising, they don't know about possible long-term effects from those treatments. Some parents in Southern California are outraged after a preschool teacher allegedly applied mood-calming patches onto children as young as 3 without their consent. This happened at Options for Learning in South El Monte near Los Angeles. Parents report those stickers, which contained essential oils, were applied to every child in the classroom and then removed just before dismissal. The allegations suggest the teacher may have used those patches as a means of controlling the children and making them sleepy.
We're surprised, then really upset, because you bring your kids and you expect it to be good, you know.
In response to the controversy, Options for Learning issued a statement saying the employee was terminated from the preschool and the school is now conducting its own investigation. Finally, tonight, the Hollywood sign turned 100 years old today. People celebrated the world-famous landmark, shining a spotlight with 10 feet of its original lights from when it debuted back in 1923. Back then, the sign read Hollywoodland, and it was intended to only stay up for about a year and a half. But today, the Hollywood sign is still around. It's still one of the most recognizable and famous landmarks in the world. It is situated on Mount Lee, up in the Hollywood Hills. And the Hollywood sign still looking good after 100 years. That does it for West Coast Wrap tonight. We appreciate you watching. You can stay up to date on all the stories we are covering online at westcoastwrap.com. And a reminder tonight, you can stream all of our shows on your smart TV. All you have to do is download the Fox Local app. Have a great night. We'll see you back here next week.